Yep.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello all, thank you for joining us today. On behalf of everyone at Mitra Innovation, it's a pleasure to welcome you all to our latest webinar. My name is Claire, I'm the Marketing Events Manager here at Mitra, and I will be your webinar host for today. Today's webinar will be taking a look at Predictio, which is Mitra's end-to-end data lake analytics and machine learning solution. Today, to tell you all about Predictio and how it can benefit your organisation, we have Dileepa, our technical lead on the solution, and Siddharika, who is our Chief Technology Officer. Between them, they will take you through the solution, explaining how it works and how it can be used to overcome some common business issues. So I hope you are looking forward to that. Before we get started though, just a little housekeeping. If you have any questions during the presentation, please just type them into the question box in your control panel and we'll answer as many of them as possible at the end of the session. Without further ado, I will hand you over to Siddharika and Dileepa.
Thank you very much, Claire. And thank you very much to everybody who's joining different parts of the world. Today we are going to talk about our solution, Predictio Data Lake and Analytics and Machine Learning Platform. So today, joining with me, Dileepa is our lead architect and the technical lead for the Predictio platform. Let me just go through the slides, and we will be talking about a few things today. I will go about explaining why a data platform is really important nowadays for businesses, and several key concepts around data lake, since it is kind of a new buzzword to the industry, and what we have built as our platform called Predictio, and what's under the hood and the technology behind it. And pretty much it is built based on Amazon Web Services. And Dileepa would go about describing the architecture, and followed by a demo and our future plans with Predictio on AWS. Okay, so let's get into why the key reason why we wanted to build a framework like Predictio. I'll give you a little brief about Predictio, how it started, a little history. Since machine learning had been around for some time, and we wanted to give it a start as Mitra Innovation. We wanted to build a machine learning solution. So when we started, one of the key driving factors for us is that to build a machine learning platform that is more accessible for businesses. We know that the machine learning platforms are pretty much developed in solving very complex business problems or even scientific solutions. We were thinking that how we can actually bring this value to a business so that a business can really leverage a platform like a machine learning. So that was our motivation initially. So down the line, when we were exploring different types of solutions and architectural comparisons, something we realized was that it's really hard to build a machine learning platform if you don't have the right data in place. So this actually led us to do a little bit of engineering around data. So the data lake concept actually came into play. So if you look at the key problems any organization face, the rapid growth of data. There's this Aberdeen research that is done on September last year. An average company sees its data growing every year, 50% from the existing data set. So we can see how much of data being generated on different systems if an organization have. Even a small organization nowadays use multiple platforms, maybe SaaS solutions and even spreadsheets lying around everywhere. So the key challenge is that having disparate data sources in an organization, and you don't really see the value of all this data unless it is really put together in a meaningful way. and how available this data when you need it to do whatever the analysis that you need to do is really a challenge. And also, like over time, how the data is changed on particular manner is not really visible. You don't have that line of sight into the data, how it is changed, and you don't actually see real value on building certain predictions, so on and so forth. And of course, when you actually build this data to do something, like something meaningful, the key question that you can ask is that whether you can rely on this data, how accurate these are. These are real challenges that every organization that would see. And on top of that, you would have many other problems as different standards are being introduced. And if you know that there is GDPR that was introduced recently, you have PII, the personally identifiable information, kept at a very high compliance level. So these are real challenges that an organization would see for you to really get business values. And as I mentioned, that people are using different kinds of systems, it increases the number of formats the data is actually pumped in. Like some of them may be still using flat files, and then some of them may use different compressed formats of data, which is a really challenge for an organization to actually understand what they are. And also storing them is very much of a challenge, especially on on-premise environments. Like they keep on buying storage, and then you will have a huge problem what you're going to do with your data archival and so on and so forth. And the other thing is that although you try to get data into one place, how you actually catalog this data and how you search this data, these are real crucial problems. So addressing all these things, the concepts have been introduced. There are various concepts of data warehouses, and the recent one is data lake. So what is a data lake? I mean, a Gartner research actually says that data is more like a data warehouse. It's also a concept. I mean, it's not actually a technology. You don't have data lake system or something like that. It's pretty much a concept. And pretty much when you talk about a data lake, it's actually a data centralization or a data storage strategy, but something more intuitive than we have seen before. So the idea is that when you have a data lake, a centralized repository, imagine it's like a huge bucket where you can actually dump whatever you can. Like imagine that inside, I'll give you a very simple example. It's like imagine that in your office you have a huge bucket, and then different people and different departments, the data that they're working in, they can just come and just dump it there. I mean, without doing any change. It could be very structured data where you have, columns and rows, very much defined data, or even it could be very raw data. Somebody might drop in a voice note, or somebody might drop in a video footage of something. It could be structured, unstructured, very scattered. But the whole thing is that the data lake concept actually gives you an ability to understand this data and then try to understand the correlation between this data and then make something meaningful out of it. That's the whole point of introducing this concept called data lake. There are several key attributes that we're looking at data lakes. One is that it can, collecting everything, and we don't actually limit data to be in a specific format. And in the pre of data lake, data warehouse, like you have to, the data formats that are coming in has to take a standard form. It has to be translated into a standard format for you to get into a data warehouse or something like that. So opposed to having a data lake, you can actually collect everything. Doesn't matter the structure. We just have the way to pump the data into one central place. So the other thing is that it can, when you have the data, you can dive in anywhere. The data lake actually enables users across multiple departments or multiple geographies to explore each other's data, and then you can actually make use of the data that is inside, because it is in their raw forms, and then you can have different layers built on top of the data lake for you to actually extract them out. The flexible access is one thing that data lake enables. Multiple data access patterns, like across shared infrastructure. So it could be like a very big organization that has multiple branch, and then you may able to do different kinds of searching, and you might do different types of data processing with the capabilities that enables. So there's a lot of value data lake actually brings into the table. So this is a high-level architecture. If you look at how a data lake look like, and you can see there are different data sources. Although this looks like a database, but it can be different types of data, structured, unstructured, as I mentioned earlier. And then data will be pumped into the data lake in a raw format. And we don't do any changes into it. And the point is that when we find different data sources that we wanted to actually connect together, what we do is that we do those transformations, and you have special skills to do those kind of transformations. And then what we do is that we load them into whatever the format that you need. I mean, there could be a data warehouse, it could be a data mart, or it could be any other analytical form, or even it can be a source for machine learning as well. This is a key advantage, having a central data set repository like a data lake. So what is Predictio? So Predictio is that is our approach to a data lake. Of course, Predictio is an entire platform for data centralization, data storage, and analytics and machine learning. So the first part of this entire thing is to get data into one central place. So it's predominantly introduces a capability of putting data together, and then we have built several other layers on top of Predictio's data lake in order for it to transform and then make it ready for different analytics. So Predictio is completely cloud-based, and it is very much integrated data platform, and it's purely built on Amazon Web Services. So there are different forms of Predictio. It can actually, we are designing it to be run on a cloud agnostic way. So it can actually sit on AWS, it can sit on Microsoft Azure, or even Google Cloud Platform for that matter. But this demo is actually focusing on how it is being built on top of AWS solutions, or AWS Cloud Platform. Right, so moving on, what I'm going to do now is handing over to Dileepa, and Dileepa would actually walk you through how the platform is built and what is under the hood, and he would then give you a demo and how this would work. So Dileepa, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudhakar. I hope you guys can see my screen now.
We can.
Okay. Okay. So I hope you got a good overall understanding of the concepts of the data lake and how it solves the problem of the data in the enterprise, and also how data lake concept evolved from a data warehouse concept. So now let us see how we have implemented those concepts and also added more features on top of it in Predictive Data Lake to give a comprehensive data lake, machine learning and analytics framework on AWS. So first, it will be good to get an understanding of the value propositions of our platform. So one of the key value propositions of Predictive Data Lake is that it enables the users to consolidate all the data across the enterprise, be in different format, in different repositories, all in one central repository that is easily navigatable and searchable. So in a typical data lake, this storage component is actually a flat file structure. But on Predictio, we have added more features, a metadata layer on top of it, so that users can basically consolidate and organize the data in a very intuitive manner based on their domain in the enterprise, so that it is very intuitive when it comes to navigating the data and searching the data across the platform. And another value proposition is our powerful connector framework, which allows you to ingest any type of data in any format from any the enterprise data source. So basically, our system will be providing extensible connector framework to add more enterprise connectors like Oracle database, SAP in the near future. And another value proposition is the data lifecycle management. So this is a very important aspect of a data lake, where you should be able to govern your data in terms of data security by applying data security policies on top of your data, encryption policies, as well as data retention policies. So in order to make your data lake cost effective, so data lake lifecycle policies for retention will make sure that your data is stored in a particular storage or the host storage for only a limited time period when it's required for analytics and machine learning purposes, and then move the data to archival. End-to-end visibility of the data lake is a very important value proposition of Predictio, which we think most of the other data lakes lack at the moment, because they do not provide an end-to-end visibility of how the data flows from different repositories to different ETL processes to different analytics purposes. So this is something that we have focused mainly in Predictio, so that data can be seen from different angles and understand and get holistic understanding of how your data moves in the data lake. And for any data lake, the power comes when it can actually generate business insights. So Predictive has given much prominence to enable the data lake to provide actionable business insights in terms of real-time business analytics, as well as prescriptive, predictive data analytics using machine learning concepts. We also provide a suite of data lake monitoring and alerting system, where strategic managers and business users can use our system to define SLAs, service level agreements, to get certain alerts when it comes to undesirable activities, as well as undesirable business trends. So this is another key feature of Predictive. And overall, the systems is packaged with data consultancy that comes from our AWS expertise, as well as our expertise on machine learning as well as analytics. So our system, when it comes to a solution, we will go to the customer and get their requirements and basically configure Predictive Data Lake to their particular use case, to their particular requirement. And now we'll take a look at different types of Predictive Data Lake users. So based on their roles and job specifications, we have identified 4 main types of users for Predictive Data Lake. One is the system admin user, who's basically the super user who actually configures the data lake in your AWS account and manages your data, authorize the users to access certain elements by assigning roles, and basically who governs the health as well as monitors undesirable activities in the data lake in an overall manner. And then the other main user is the business user, who is basically the strategic managers, the business managers at the top level, at the top management level, who consumes the business analytics and prediction results to govern insights or get insights from your data lake. And the next one is the data engineer, who basically is there to configure the ETL or the enhanced transform and load data pipelines in the data lake in order to define workflows for different machine learning and analytics purposes. Data scientist is an advanced form of data engineer who configures the machine learning workflows in order to derive business predictions for certain business cases in your domain. So I think after looking at the users, it will be good to have an overall picture of how Predictive Data Lake is designed. So this is basically a technology agnostic viewpoint of how we have designed the system. So here we have major components like the ingestion engine, which basically have data lake endpoints to intake or ingest data from different data repositories like SQL databases, file systems, APIs, IoT devices, sensors. All those are ingested to the data lake from our powerful ingestion pipeline or the ingestion engine. And those data is stored in our data lake storage in their native form there. And then in the ETL engine, this native form data is used to transform in order to other intermediate formats that is usable for the analytics and machine learning use cases. And also this data will be indexed and cataloged in the search and catalog so that it is navigatable and searchable across the data lake. The governance engine is another main component of the Predictio Data Lake system, which enforces data lake policies, monitors the data lake, and inspects the activities or the cloud trails of the activities in the data lake, so that governance and the traceability and auditability of the data lake is enforced through the governance engine. And then we have the layer of Predictio core implemented on top of these underlying components, which basically abstracts the services as service level APIs and implement a particular SDK based approach to connect to a particular cloud platform. So in the current release, we have used AWS as our cloud platform and used AWS's services to connect Predictio core to give your data lake capabilities. And all these features is then visualized or given to the end users through our Predictio console web application. And now I think it will be good to understand how we have implemented those high-level components in the AWS arena or the AWS framework. So as you can see, we have our Predictio web application, which is a Node.js based microservice-based web application that sits on top of the AWS platform. It has the connector framework attached to it, which is basically to connect to different data repositories. At the moment, we have several set of connectors like the file connector and the Kinesis stream connector to connect data streams to our data lake. And this data is then ingested to the data lake hot storage, which is implemented using AWS's S3, the standard storage for AWS. And then the data is moved to different tiers or different archival stage using enforced data lake governance rules and policies, which is based on AWS S3 storage classes as well as roles defined by AWS IAM. So for hot storage, we used S3, and for data lake cold storage, we used Glacier. And in the middle, the ETL engine is implemented using AWS Glue, which is their main enhanced transform load engine they provide in AWS. And they are using crawlers. When the data is ingested, we will crawl the data and get the metadata extracted in order to search and catalog the data to enable searchability and navigatability of data lake. And also, the ETL jobs will run in the AWS Glue ETL engine in order to transform the source data into different formats that is required for analytics and machine learning. For analytics, we are using a particular a dashboard component in AWS called QuickSight, which is basically the go-to dashboard application in AWS to visualize any data lake analytics. And underneath, as the data warehouse component to give the data analytics backend, we use Redshift. And for user management and access control, we use AWS's Cognito as the user store and IAM as to define the user roles based on access level policies. And for the data lake monitoring, to track the data, to track the activities, we use CloudWatch to track the activities, to get events, and also for the audit trails, we use CloudTrail. And all the connected, all the components like the storage components, the ETL component, the data warehouse component, will trigger AWS events to the monitoring engine as CloudWatch events in order when it comes to an undesirable activity or any suspicious activity. So it is all accountable of what happens in the data lake. So in terms of the data lake notifications and messaging, we use SNS, the simple notification service, to basically push out any notifications and alerts to the Predictio users via emails and SMSs. And also the activity trail or the events trail is stored in SQS in order to be consumed by the Predictive web app through our Predictio metadata database. So I think you can understand how we have used the different AWS components to give this AWS-based data lake total solution. So if we summarize the capabilities that we use from AWS, this complete solution is based on AWS cloud, so it is inherently extensible, scalable, and available by design. You don't have to worry about data going down or data being not durable, data not being available, because it's all guaranteed by AWS, which is the top level infrastructure service provider in the world. And data compatibility is provided by AWS S3, which basically supports any type of data in your data lake, and also the data could be scaled into any level into petabyte scale without a problem, because theoretically S3 is not limited, but logically it should be limited for the business use cases. For the governance, we use AWS S3 storage class policies as well as IAM roles to define data policies, and also governance of compliance rules such as GDPR. For security, we use IAM for access level management, as well as user management and authentication. We use Cognito. And at the data level, for security purposes, we use KMS for encrypting the data when it's stored at the data lake. And analytics is supported by AWS QuickSight and Redshift to give powerful data analytics on a dashboard to visualize and look at the data in different angles using QuickSight's inherent capabilities. And the machine learning part, which is one of the predominant part of Predictive framework to get business insights, is driven by AWS SageMaker as an engine to basically train the model, test the model, and deploy the model as APIs for the business consumption. And as I said before, the whole package comes with a data consultancy that is powered by our AWS expertise as well as data lake expertise in the team. Okay, without further ado, let's now take a look at how we can deploy Predictio on a particular AWS account. So Predictio Data Lake is actually deployable in a client's AWS account in a very few steps using the CloudFormation template. So AWS's CloudFormation is a concept where it is infrastructure as code. You can code in all the infrastructure that you need for a particular solution. It could be a simple EC2 instance deployment or a multi-tier high-level solution on AWS. So Predictio has encapsulated all the underlying deployment artifacts and services under a CloudFormation stack that can be deployed in a very simple steps that I'll be taking you through in a few moments. And if you look at the workflow of the deployment, it is very simple. The AWS admin will deploy the Predictive CloudFormation stack, and then the CloudFormation stack will deploy the necessary services to the AWS account. These services includes Lambda, S3, AWS Glue, SageMaker, Cognito, which will all spawn this services stack in order to support the services for Predictive Weather. And also, Predictive CloudFormation stack will get the Predictive AMI for the particular region and deploy it in an EC2 instance selected by the AWS admin in a particular subnet in a particular VPC. And then the whole service is started from a startup script inside the Predictive EC2 container engine, where it starts the Predictive web container and metadata database container using a script in order to provide the services to the end users. So all the services is then accessed by the users through an internet gateway, which accessed through the VPC. Okay, now it's time for a quick demo. Let's first go through how we can actually deploy Predictio on AWS. So first, you have to go to your AWS console. And you have to go to the CloudFormation section of the console, and then you can create a stack. So here you have to, you can either design a template or choose a template. So we have a pre-configured template for Predictio that you have to select here. Data Lake CloudFormation YAML, it's a YAML script. Then you can go to the next steps and give a name for the Data Lake stack. So I will give Predictio Data Lake. And you have to select the instance type. So it is you can select any type underneath. We have tested all these instance types, and for demo purposes, I'm using a T2 Micro, which is the smallest. And then you have to have a key pair when it comes to requirements of SSHing to the EC2 instance. You need to have a key pair. So we have created the Predictio AMI key pair, which will be reused here. And then you have to give the Predictio database admin username. I will give a test username. And then a password. Please note that this is governed by password policies. You'll have to give a strong password here. And then you have to give the database for the Predictio database username password. So I'll use the same. And you have to select the VPC that you are going to host this in AWS, and you will have to also select the particular subnet. So these other options that you have to select are optional. You don't have to do it mandatorily. And now you can basically see review all the entries that you have given. So I can now basically deploy this, and it's that easy. There's a small problem here. Let me check it. Okay. All right. Okay. So Predictio Data Lake is creation in progress. You can see the activities, the creation of different activities here as a trail. So this will typically take about 5 to 10 minutes because we are spawning a whole set of services at the back end and also deploying EC2 instances and everything. So it will take about 5 to 10 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate our application, which is deployed in a different region. So the current deployment is in Oregon region. I have a deployed instance in EU region, which I will now show you. So it is this stack is deployed, and if you go to the EC2 homepage, you can select the EC2 instance that is running the Predictive web application, and you can select the public IP, that is this IP, and basically log into the system. So I have already logged in here as the Predictive admin user. And this is the main dashboard of our Predictive system. So here we have given a lot of thought on different angles that a person needs to look at the data lake, so that we have given a set of dashboards. So the first dashboard is the overview dashboard. This is basically give a snapshot view of how the data lake is currently acting as a data storage. So you can see the data lake usage, the disk usage, or how much data is aggregated in a particular day, how much of this space is currently used. So this is basically logically restricted on the S3, AWS S3. So that is basically governed through our Predictive settings. where you can basically define a particular data lake storage size, alert threshold size, that is to basically give you an alert if the data lake exceeds a particular limit in storage. So all this is configured in Predictive settings. And in overview page, you also have the data variation based on storage classes. This is basically to give an understanding how much of data is stored in the standard storage and how much of data is there in the frequent and archival storage. And then we have also given the file types of the types of data in the data storage. You can see it stores CSVs, images, text, and other types as well. And if you go to the next visualization dashboard, this is the main dashboard which allows the user to basically understand the system's domain of the data in a holistic manner, because all the data stored in the data lake can be organized in a very intuitive logical structure. So this data set is based on the retail data that we collected from a public repository. And as you can see, we have public data, that is weather data, events data, and stock data, as well as the website data that collects different Twitter streams, log streams, and static content from the website. You have the HR data, events data, and you have the retail stores, different stores data in different folders in logically structured in an intuitive manner. So this basically gives a very good way to navigate through your data lake without having data swarms here and there. It is basically connected as a graph so that you can understand the relationship between the data. And in the next releases, we are also working on 2 other visualizations, basically connectivity visualization as well as data lake data flow visualization, which will show all the data flowing from data repositories to the ETLs to the end usage in data analytics and machine learning. The next dashboard is the data lineage dashboard, which is basically how you can visualize the activities happening in the data lake. Basically, so this gives the logical structure in a folder format of these 3 data storage, and you can basically select a particular domain or a folder and see what are the activities that has happened in that particular area. So as you can see, you have different CSV files ingested by a user as well as a cognitor user. And likewise, you can basically see all the trail of activities when it happens in the data lake. The next dashboard is the operations dashboard. This basically gives the overview of the health of the data lake. So we have monitored the health of the ingestion pipelines as well as ETL pipelines. So this basically gives how many ETL jobs have failed, how many have successfully connected and ingested, and also all the jobs that has run in a recent past, and also the alerts based on a particular failure. You can also subscribe to these alerts here if you need alerts to your SMS or email. So this is to basically subscribe as an email user. And let's now go to the other section, data ingestion. So here in create folder, you can basically create a context in the data lake storage based on a business domain's requirements. So likewise, we have defined the HRM data folders. You can create a new folder underneath by giving a particular folder file to a logo. Basically, you can extend the logical structure of your data lake. Let's take a look at the connectors, different connector types that we have in the Predictive Data Lake. Currently, we support 2 data lake connectors: the file connector that is ingesting data from file systems, and the stream connector, which connects data streams to the data lake via Kinesis Firehose. So I will basically, I will create a simple file connector here. So what you have to do is you can give a test name, test connector, and the connector type is file. It can be changed, and you can decide which folder that is going to be connected to this connector, so that data will be streaming into that folder. You can enable the crawler, which will basically get all the metadata once data is ingested into the data lake, and you can also select whether this data should be encrypted or non-encrypted upon data storage. And you can now see the data lake connector is created, and you can basically upload any file from here as well. And all that activity will be traced in the data lineage. Okay, so the next one is the ingestion jobs, which is a feature that is going to be in the next release. This is to basically define the workflows or the schedules for the data ingestions, so that the data is ingested in a periodic manner. And then we have the data transformation ETL jobs, which is basically to transform data from one repository structure to the intermediate structures required for analytics and machine learning. So at the moment, what we support as a ETL job is to upload the transformation script and connect it to a Glue connection that is residing in AWS Glue. And you can create that ETL job to do the transformation, connecting a transformation script. So we are currently also working on an ETL workflow that is in the next release. The next feature is the data search feature. Here, the data search is governed by the Elasticsearch component in AWS, and you can basically search any data across the data lake without a problem with the metadata and the other created data and those metadata collected from the crawling jobs. So we are going to enhance this search feature to add more semantic search capabilities, so that from a context point of view, you can basically search data like finance data and HR data on a contextual manner. And then we will go to the machine learning, which is the main feature. So as I said, the data lake should be customized for a particular domain. So you cannot implement a generic purpose prediction model or a machine learning component without having a specification or a domain boundary. So this particular sales prediction is defined for a retail sector, because our demonstration or the demo application is based on retail data set. So what we are going to do in this sales prediction is, based on the data collected from 45 stores, what we are going to do is we are going to predict the sales of a particular store in a particular department based on the sales markdowns or the promotions that we select for a particular period. We have also used an external API to get the consumer pricing index, which has an effect on the sales predictions. So based on that, we can basically predict the sales for the next 8 weeks, for the next 2 months, based on the sales promotions that we selected. So you can see changes for the particular storage or particular store. And the next one is the analytics, which is basically at the moment we are going to use the AWS's QuickSight dashboard for analytics. So these are simple analytics that we have created for the retail sales domain. So similarly, So this is basically to give a summary of weekly sales based on the stores. So you can drill down to different stores and get more valuable insights and implement more analytics, more analysis using QuickSight's inherent capabilities. So with that, we have covered the most parts of the Predictio's web apps capabilities. Let us go back to the presentation. So I hope you have got a good understanding of the system's capabilities at the moment in Predictio. At the moment, it is in MVP level, and we are targeting a release version released by January 2019 with much more capabilities. We are going to implement more dashboards on data connectivity and ETL, and we are going to implement ingestion and ETL job schedules to schedule the jobs for the ingestions and transformations. And we are also going to implement administration panels for machine learning and analytics. And of course, we are going to implement more enterprise connectors, that is to connect to different enterprise repositories like Oracle DB, SFTP, which are on the pipeline. And of course, it is we are very delighted that our plan to deliver or deploy our AWS data lake is on way to deliver it on AWS Marketplace. So we have actually applied for AWS Marketplace, and very soon Predictive Data Lake will be available on AWS Marketplace. So you guys can also go to AWS Marketplace and get our Predictio's cloud formation offering, deploy it in very simple steps as I showed you in your AWS account, and it's completely free, and you can give us your feedback. So now we have come to a conclusion of the end of our webinar. So as a summary, I would like to point out that every organization needs a solution to the problem of managing their growing data. The data is growing exponentially, and we also looked at how data lake offers a comprehensive and holistic solutions to the problems that the organization faces when it comes to big data. And then we look at how Predictio gives a total data lake, machine learning and analytics capabilities framework in a one-click data lake solution to deploy your custom data lake on AWS seamlessly. And also we went through different features of Predictio so that Predictio will allow you to consolidate all the data gathered from different repositories, visualize the data from end-to-end. The visibility of end-to-end visibility is there to govern the data. Data full life cycles are managed in Predictio, and also valuable business insights are extracted with the powerful tools of AWS like AWS SageMaker and QuickSight. So with that, we conclude the webinar, and if you have any questions, we'd like to take those up now. Are there any questions, Claire?
I can't see any questions.
Okay.
So I think we must have provided everybody with everything they needed to know, which is good. If you do want to find out any more information though about our Predictio solution, you can get in touch with the Mitra team by emailing info@mitrai.com. So it's info@mitrai.com. Or you can call us on the number on the screen at the moment, which is 0203 908 1977. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks for your time. We hope you found the webinar useful. If you'd like to join us again, our next webinar is taking place next Thursday, which will be the 1st of November at the same time of 11 o'clock GMT. The topic will be about the integration language ballerina. So if you want to come along, please do. The details can be found at the Mitra website. So please go along there and have a look at what we've got coming up. That'd be great. So thank you again for your time today, and we hope to see you on one of our webinars again soon. And thank you very much to Dileepa and Siddharaka for their presenting. It was very helpful.
Thank you guys. Thank you for participating in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.